Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about love and my perception on it and some thoughts regarding it. When we hear about love, it can be very ambiguous. Some people can really misconstrue this meaning. I see love as a genuine, ingenuous, compassionate feeling directed at somebody, and obviously it's stronger if it's mutually exchanged. Some people have obviously varying thoughts on this. Sometimes people feel that love can just be expressed through giving people things, material items, and they rationalize it that way. I don't believe in doing that. If you give somebody something and you mean it from the heart and there's love associated with it, then that's a different story. There were some people in my life, and I'm going to speak anonymously about it, that may have, actually had given me gifts in the past and some material items, and I think love was connected with it. But unfortunately, sometimes when people give you items or they give you things, it's not always, you don't always have that full love with it. And I think sometimes there's people that will just give things and they think they can justify loving a person just by doing this. There's some people that will do this straight from the heart, which is great if you can get the best of both worlds. I'm not saying it's wrong to receive material items or be enamored with it, but it's better if you're receiving it and you know that the love is connected with it, and when you receive it as well, that you still love the person that is giving it to you, and you're not loving the person just for the sake of receiving monetary reward or something that is connected with materialism. There's obviously some misconceptions that are connected with not loving somebody. Let's say hypothetically that you have a loved one or family member, and the person is about to get run over, or a train's about to hit the person. And if the person doesn't rescue and save the person, it doesn't mean necessarily that the person didn't love him or her. Sometimes people are in trepidation, they are in fear, they're petrified. And there was somebody had told me something one time, that he had gotten beat up by a couple guys, and he had a younger family member with him, and she seemed very afraid and didn't do anything to intervene. But the thing is, the person still loved the other person, but sometimes fear can dominate somebody in that situation. But that doesn't mean that there was no love expressed. The person just might have genuinely been scared. There's also, and if somebody doesn't, like say you have a family member in trouble, or the person family member didn't stick up for that person that was in trouble, sometimes fear and apprehension takes over. Now, there can be some times when you have situations where that person might have just simply been apathetic and didn't love the family member. I'm not saying that it's always because the person was afraid and still loved the person. You have people that sometimes they will show their true colors when somebody is facing adversity, and you find out if that person really cared about him or not. I had a friend one time, and I thought he was my friend, and on a platonic level. And one time I had gotten into it with some guys, and I was on the ground, and I was a kid at the time. I was like 14 years old, and I was hitting somebody, and at the same time somebody else was hitting me while I was getting hit, and the person stood there idly and didn't do anything. I just thought it was like he just didn't feel like maybe doing anything, and he didn't obviously care about me as a friend to break up the conflict. And there's some times where I think you can gauge a friend that doesn't care, or somebody that's just genuinely scared and really did care about the person, whether it was on a platonic friendship level, or it was on if it was a man-woman or romantic situation. And we really, sometimes we find out the hard way whether some people, whether they love us or they don't love us, whether it's as friend or otherwise. And it's just like love can be expressed in such a manifold ways. We see we could have a love for a team, for a sports team. You know, I'm very enamored and fixated with sports. I do sports writing. I love watching baseball. I'm enamored with sports. I like my Yankees, my Mets, my New York home teams. And we do have a certain passion for these things, and there can be love can manifest in other ways as well. When we think of just like, you know, love obviously is more than just something that is expressed between romantic people or something of a sexual nature. We have, like I stated before, we have the platonic love. I think self-love is paramount, and one must love his or herself to really express it strongly. There are some people, unfortunately, that don't always receive love and don't receive it on a frequent or consistent basis, and I think therefore it makes that person difficult in expressing it. I don't feel as if I've received a lot of love in my life, especially the second half of my life I've lived up to this point, which is like the last 20 to 25 years. And sometimes if you don't receive it, I can understand where it can be rationalized, where it's hard to feel that unbridled compassion toward a person. Sometimes it's hard. I feel for the kids in society nowadays, because you see all this malice and hatred and animosity. There are people, I should say, I'll see things on the internet where there's animals that are tortured, people committing heinous crimes against them. You see all these crimes of hate, all this destruction, arson, military situations where people are killed in wars, in some combat, devastation. And when you see all this volatility and all this anger and things that are not associated with love happening, it's really, sometimes it's hard for people to experience it. People hang out with the wrong set of people in school, their contemporaries. If they're not giving this person really a good influence, it can be something where maybe this person is not really has a hard time maybe understanding something about love and compassion. And I feel, even though I'm not a parent myself, I would encourage anybody as a parent out there to make sure that their children are receiving the right influences in school, and so it doesn't come out maybe at home in any kind of hate or malice toward other family members or even yourself, because the children obviously aren't going to be home all day. They're going to be in school, whatever it is, 6.5 hours. I don't know what it is. I guess it varies, different locations. And this could be something where people, it's good to give children love at home, but they have to receive at least some kind of, not necessarily love all the time outside of home, but at least receive good influences, so when they are at home, they are more equipped to actually receive this, I think. I'll give you another example where love is not necessarily always expressed on the surface. I had a family member figured prominently in my life. Was my grandmother died about 3 years ago, and to this day I haven't cried over it, and that's the truth. It didn't mean I didn't love her, but some people express sadness, sentimentality in different ways, I believe, and I still thought about it. I mourned, I grieved, I did feel, I felt terrible that this happened. It was very devastating. But not everybody always expresses this on the outside, and it doesn't mean that the person didn't love this person. It just means that some people deal with things crisis or certain situations differently. Also, I hadn't seen my grandma physically in about, I think I'm going to say it was about 17 years at that point in time when she died. So I do believe that plays a role as well. And so anyway, it's and like I stated before, it's always good that people have the right influences in their life, in their environment, so they have better chance to be able, I think, to receive the love and to actually convey it and express it as well. And it's good to love things, but not necessarily the wrong things, such as compulsive gambling. And make sure when you love something, it's the right thing that you love, and don't succumb to, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, idolatry or something, whatever the word is, when you worship some kind of idol or something or form, or become egocentric and worship yourself or your body. I mean, self-love is good, but we can't be immersed in loves of just pertaining to oneself. It has to be disperse the love, somewhat evenly, I think, to family members or whoever. Because if you just, it's important to love oneself, yes, but not to the point at the exception of everybody else and everything else. So anyway, people, that will conclude this YouTube segment for my dissertation on love. And until next time, people, stay well.